Welcome back to another round of basis picks. Now this is part 2 of 2 for this weekend. As I said, there was a lot going on. I did last night's one yesterday. Maybe the less said about that the better, and I guess by the amount of views that's gone on to that particular video, the people weren't too interested. After the fight, I could see why. But we got the UK card coming up now for the rest of the weekend. I'm actually going to the 50 Cent concert in a few hours, so yeah, let's get this out of the way. Let it be known, I am not covering every single fight on both the cards because yeah, just not happening. But outside of that, we've got the Magnificent 7 taking place in Manchester from Queensbury. Some very good fights on that card, and then we've also got the Wolverhampton card provided by a Boxer, which is headlined by Adam Azim, and I think that was more for Tyler Denny and his European title charge. So yeah, we're going to go through both of those now, so please like, subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an enemy, an associate, and any and all in between. Without further ado, let's get started, and you might as well go with the Boxer card first. Okay, so starting off on the Boxer card, there's probably 4 fights on there that are viewed as somewhat interesting, and out of those 4 fights, maybe only 2 that you might consider competitive. Look, Richie Riakporhe is back on the scene after a bit of a hiatus away. Everyone knows what's gone on with regards to failed purse bid, submissions, and other fights that were supposed to happen, which for whatever reason didn't take place. But yeah, he's coming back against Dylan Brejon at the moment. Now, Brejon has gone the distance before with Chris Billam-Smith and Isaac Chamberlain, but he has also been knocked out on a couple of occasions on some of his other losses. This is a comeback fight, so ultimately I'm expecting Richard Riakporhe to get a knockout, not just a stoppage or a proper knockout, and I'm expecting that to take place within the first 5 rounds, maybe round 6 at a push. I can't see it going further than that, quite frankly. Reece Edwards and Brad Foster, I've seen both, but I don't really pay too much attention to either, if I'm gonna be real. So just based off of my last knowledge of both guys and sort of how they fight, and just how I feel the styles will probably match up, I think Reece Edwards is going to take that one. I think it's going to be by decision, but I've got no real faith or interest in that one, to be totally honest. So I'll say decision, because to me that seems like the most likely scenario. So now we get to the fights that are of more interest. Now you've got Matteo Signani against Tyler Denny. Denny gets to fight for the European title. Now he's been waiting for quite a while to get his hands on the British, but for whatever reason he's just never been given the opportunity to fight for that British title. So he's leapfrogged from English, he's leapfrogging the British, going straight to the European. And with the run of form that he's been on, with the progression and the and sort of the wins that he's had, he's definitely been an underdog in quite a few of the fights, but he's found a way to get a victory. Whether it's his work rate, his smoothness in the ring, he's been really sort of carving out a lane for himself. And yes, he should have by now been in touch with that British title, but things happen. Now with Matteo Signani, this is gonna be a fight. Both guys are actually tailor-made for each other. They're both boxers. Signani is a guy that is quite high volume, but he's very well put together. He's not he's not necessarily a KO artist or someone that maybe takes unnecessary chances, but he is a guy that foundationally has a very sort of good boxing style, and he is a person that when he puts his punches together, there's always a kind of a rhythm behind those punches and a correct technique to it. Tyler Denny is a little bit different in the sense that he's a bit more fluid in how he sort of delivers his punches. Now, I believe Tyler's southpaw. Every fight I've seen him fight from a southpaw position. So I'm going to assume that is sort of his main attributes. Now, with that being said, one thing that Tyler knows how to do is he knows how to get on the inside and basically do most of his work from mid to close range. He knows how to tie up if he needs to take breaks, or if he needs to spin his opponent or spin himself away from the ropes. He knows how to clinch and hold. So I feel as if he's going to be comfortable regardless of where this fight is fought. So it's ultimately going to come down to, can Tyler Denny disrupt and upset Signani's sort of his routines, his combinations and his correctness? Can he get him out of pocket? Can he disrupt that construct enough to be able to work his own implement his own style and implement his own game plan in between those rhythmic movements? I think that Tyler, in not having being given that British opportunity and not showing that he is of the British level, but having taken so many hard fights at the English level and coming through all of them pretty much with flying colours for the most part, even though this is probably a step above where he should go, I think he's got enough in the tank to do it. He's still fresh enough, and he's active, which is always a good thing. I think he's a lot more active than Signani has been over the last couple of years. I could be slightly wrong on that one, but he's always out and always fighting, whereas Signani I've only heard a couple times recently. So plus Signani is a much older guy. I think Signani is about 43 or something along those lines, whereas Tyler's I think 31, 32. So he's the younger guy in there. Got a lot more mileage in the tank left, and I just feel he's gonna basically show up, show out, and basically take revenge for not being gifted and given that British opportunity. So with that being said, I do think Tyler Denny will take this one, and knowing him, it will be on points. I could see it potentially being like a majority decision or a split decision, but I think he's gonna do just enough to get it done in front of his hometown, his home crowd of Wolverhampton. And from a non-biased point of view, because I have looked at this from several angles, but I will be rooting for him. He's a good guy. I've spoken to him a couple of times, and he's definitely come up the hard way, so he deserves it. But I do think, just based on skill levels, I think he will achieve that goal. So shout outs to him, and that's my prediction. Moving to what I believe is going to be the main event, Adam Azim versus Frank Pt2. Now, Pt2 is tailor-made for Adam Azim. He is not so much an action fighter, but he's an active fighter. He does throw a lot of shots in rounds, which means that he will give Azim a lot of opportunities to counter punch or to land shots. Now, Adam Azim has a very, very bad habit of leaving his chin in the air, especially when he's trying to drill his backhand, so the right hand through the target, or when he's trying to come around the side, his chin lifts up quite substantially. I've spoken previously about Janae Boston doing that, but Adam Azim is even more egregious, because when he does it, it's behind really strong, fast power punches. So if you get caught in between those, there's a problem there. However, the benefit for Adam in this fight is that Pt2 is not a puncher at all. The majority of the fights he has won via stoppage has been due to just accumulation and the ref jumping in more so than anything else. It's not, concussive, knockout power, knockdowns, can't get up, getting counted out. It's more, putting on a barrage and just the ref sort of stopping, but that's been to very much overmatched opponents. So in terms of that, Azim is going to be lucky. His chin's not necessarily going to be tested by this guy, but I think it still will get hit a couple of times. But I do expect Adam to get a stoppage in this fight, and I would expect it to happen around about round 7 or 8. I believe this is I think it's a 12 rounder because it's for the European title, but it could be a 10. But I do think it will be over inside 8. I don't see this one going the distance. But yeah, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. But right now, let's move over to Queensberry and the Magnificent 7. Okay, so this card is stacked in terms of local trade talent. Like, there's a lot of fighters on here whereby they're not necessarily big names, glamour names, but in the trade they are pretty well known, and a lot of these fights are going to be evenly matched for the most part. I don't have the time to go through all of them, but Solomon Dacus just got put onto the card to make it back to the Magnificent 7, as there was a fight that did drop out due to injury. So him being an English title holder now, I believe he is defending that against Michael Webster, I think. So yeah, I'm expecting him to do well on his Queensberry debut, so good luck to him. I'm going to start off with Hannah Rankin and Emma Cozen. Now, Hannah Rankin is an interesting character. She is a lady that she's got very good fundamentals. She's not necessarily had the best luck, but she's also taken a lot of the hardest fights as well. But she's very much of, if there was a lot more British level or British titles in the women's division, she would probably be around that British level. Like, she's good for a good scrap, she's good for a good win, but when it comes to like the world level, yeah, she has been a world champion before, but against very limited opposition. When she faced, you know, decent competition, the likes of Terry Harper, the likes of Savannah Marshall, albeit Savannah's, you know, quite sizably bigger than her, and also Clarissa Shields, and just those type of opponents plus some others, she's been found wanting at those higher levels. Emma Cozen, on the other hand, is a strange character, because whereas Hannah Rankin has fought all of these hard fights, Emma Cozen has more KOs, I believe, than Hannah has fights at this point. I could slightly be wrong on that one, but I'm pretty sure that she's got a much higher win ratio. She's had more fights as a whole, I do know that, but I think she's got quite a lot of knockouts. However, her level of competition has been extremely poor throughout her career so far, but she is heavy-handed. Now, they both share an opponent with Clarissa Shields, and probably you might say that Emma Cozen did slightly better, especially in the first half of the fight. Obviously, she went into survival mode from the second half, but it was it was pretty much just a beat down from sort of round 4 onwards, and it was just survival. Whereas Hannah Rankin, I feel like she tried to be a bit more competitive down the back stretch and tried to take more of what Clarissa had early, from what I remember. Look, in that fight, you've got Hannah, who's, you know, fallen at the biggest hurdles consistently, but has been in there and I guess gained experience from those big fights, but she's had a lot of tough fights. So how many more times can she go to the well and dig deep? Whereas Emma Cozen, not really been tested at that level consistently, but she's got a lot more momentum and she's got a lot more winning experience, so she knows more what it's like to win than Hannah does. But whereas Hannah, obviously, former champion as well. So this is going to be actually a unification. There's going to be 2 vacant belts on the line, the WBO and the WBA at 154. I think, looking at this fight, Hannah has a habit of sitting in the pocket a bit too often, and that gives Emma Cozen a lot more opportunities to win, because she's not necessarily one that can go looking for an opponent, but if an opponent stands right there, if I was to put the 2 of them in a gunfight, I think I kind of have more faith in Emma Cozen's gun slinging and her power. And that while obviously I don't think this fight will end in a stoppage, I think Emma Kozin will land a lot of significant shots on Hannah, which basically not so much makes her retreat, but stops her from throwing and executing her game plan. Now, Hannah's obviously the house fighter, and I want to see her do well, but for some reason, I just have a feeling that Emma Kozin is going to take this one. I hope I'm wrong, but based on the evidence, I think Emma Kozin has this fight. So I do think that Emma Kozin will win this via decision, but if it does go the opposite way, you know, I definitely won't be upset about it. Right, so moving on from there, Denzel Bentley against Nathan Heaney. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. Nathan Heaney is nowhere near on the level of Denzel Bentley. This is basically like a homecoming fight for him. I think this was a reward for something. I can't remember what the story was, but this is a reward for him ultimately. But look, Denzel Bentley's been up at world level and acquitted himself against people like 3 times the quality of Nathan Heaney. Nathan Heaney is the older guy. He doesn't have punch power. I think he's 18-0 or something, but he's got like 5 KOs, whereas Denzel, like, he's known for knocking people out. And I think this fight is not going to be any different, and I do expect Denzel within the first 5 rounds to KO Nathan Heaney quite brutally as well. So yeah, I'm never going to say much more on that one. Echo Esserman against Harry Scarf. Now this was a very interesting one. At their initial press conference that they had down in London, this one got very tasty in terms of the back and forth. Harry Scarf said that Echo's been sort of avoiding him for a while. He's been the mandatory. Echo's been trying to find alternative routes. Echo said, like, you know, behave yourself. Basically, like, when things happen, like, you're going to see what the level's like. Harry Scarf seems to intimate that they've had some spars, and those spars have always gone his way. Echo didn't necessarily deny it, but didn't confirm it either. Not sure. But what I do know is, under the bright lights, Echo Esserman just seems to get it done. He's getting older, but every time you want to count him out, you think, I thought that Chris Congo was going to be that guy to get him, but Echo just found a way to grind it out, especially in those mid to late rounds when other opponents start getting tired. And I think this one's going to be no exception. Again, I think this one's getting to the cards because Echo's not really a knockout merchant, but he knows how to stay on your chest. He knows how to keep you working, keep you busy, and keep it pushing. So with that being said, I do favour Echo to win this, and I do think he will get this one on a unanimous decision. Yeah, so that's my prediction for that. Liam Davis versus Vincenzo Lafamini. Now, I don't know much about Vincenzo, to be totally honest, but Liam Davis has gone from strength to strength in his last few fights. He's also seemed to develop a little bit of a punch from somewhere. So I am going to predict that Liam Davis gets the victory here, and I also think that he may end up getting a stoppage around about sort of round 7. I'm predicting sort of a late stoppage, round 7, round 8. But yeah, that's gonna be my prediction there. But that again is just going based on what I've seen of Liam and not what I've seen of Vincenzo, because I've not seen anything, I can't lie. Finally, going to the main event, Nick Bull versus Isaac Dogboe. Now this fight here is probably fight of the weekend in terms of intrigue. It's one of those ones, I don't know how it goes. Look, ultimately you've got Isaac Dogboe, who, you know, is a smaller guy naturally, but has been world champion on several occasions throughout the weight classes. He's been in there with, you know, some of the, you know, the elite of the elite fighters at sort of, you know, 122, 126, sort of those areas. Sorry, 122, 118, and sort of anywhere sort of in between there. He's been in there with some really big names, and I feel as though Nick Bull is he is on the ascendancy, no doubt about it. The one thing is, he's been building, he's been working towards this moment. But the two of them, if you look at who gets the better quality of work off in the ring, the majority of the time, Isaac Dogbe is a lot cuter, a lot trickier, and just a lot more experience at landing those shots. Whereas Nick Bull is a bulldozer. That's pretty much his philosophy. So I think how this fight plays out is the first half of it predominantly, Isaac Dogbe will get the better of it. Now this is obviously, you got to base it on fair scoring, but I think Dogbe gets the better of the first half due to his experience and obviously having enough of a punch to keep Nick Bull honest. He's not just going to go in there bulldozing, trying to steamroll him, knowing that coming back at him is a guy that can punch, can crack, and is arguably just as strong as he is. But I feel as if Bull has a better engine, and I think the Nick Bull is going to be in this from the first second of round 1 all the way through to round 12. And when that sort of happens, I feel as if Dogbe might start to fade, especially sort of from about round 8, round 9 onwards, and we get a really sort of strong second half, or definitely a strong third from Nick Bull. However, I think the experience level between the two is ultimately going to be what tips this fight, and I think that Isaac Dogbe is going to rack up enough rounds in that first half and nick a couple in that second and do just enough to be able to see this one out. So while everything is telling me that this could be a Nick Bull stoppage in sort of like rounds 11 or 12, I think that Isaac Dogbe does see it out, and I'm going to predict that Dogbe does win this one, possibly by a split decision, sort of 7 rounds to 5. I think he just got a bit of extra quality there. And this will be a fight, and if Nick Bull doesn't win this fight, it's going to stand him in great stead for the next one, the next build, the rebuild back up to that world level. The amount of experience he's going to get from this fight is going to probably be like nothing else that he's had before. But I feel he's going to be razor close, but he's going to just fall short. That's my prediction. It's one that it's based on the both of their metrics, but the script could get ripped up. This is probably one of those fights whereby it could end in a first round knockout, and I wouldn't be that surprised. It's just that type of fight. But yeah, I'm backing Dogbe's experience and his way to navigate through the fight, and I know he's been training really hard for this one. So that's my opinion. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. Leave your comments down below, let me know what you think. Again, please like, subscribe and share, and I will catch you in the next video. There definitely should be an upload tomorrow, but for right now, that's Basis Picks locked.